here we are back at another episode of Be Your Will podcast. We're running strong here in season 3, and today is no exception. We have the amazing Andrew Kenny from American Analog Set, also the Wooden Birds.
Hello.
He's coming in, and we're going to kind of learn all about him in 25 minutes and how all this beautiful music gets created. So, Andrew, thanks so much for hopping on here and joining us today.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is one of my favorite topics.
Awesome. Mine too. Mine too.
Myself.
It's been a real pleasure, like getting all this new American Analog Set stuff coming out. It's, 23, 24. But
Yeah.
I always love rewinding a little bit to kind of talk about where it all started for you as an artist. Like, what are those memories of yours, of early memories of when music started to become something that was going to permeate your life?
That's a great question because I didn't I played in some local bands in Fort Worth a little bit before I started or we started the American Analog Set, but yeah, I didn't have a lot of experience in music, but I did have a lot of experience going to shows and just that was very much my church, and I met my people in my late teens and early 20s when people meet their people.
Right.
Yeah, and mine were at rock shows. So yeah, so I that's where I met Lisa and Mark and Lee,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we were friends first, and decided that we wanted to make some music, but we weren't that serious about it, and we really just wanted to hang out and talk about music and just play each other records. And being in a band was very much a thing that we got to do together, but it wasn't the primary thing. Like, we were really just kind of a gang first, uh, and then a band. Whenever we had time on the
Right.
weekends to
Right.
put it together, but it really was something for friends to do.
And as a group, like what were those shows that grabbed you guys to them, and like what was your common kind of thread of music or
That's a
artists that you
That's a good
share?
question also.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it shouldn't be surprising, maybe listening to our earlier albums. Like, I first met Mark. Um, I think I saw him at a lot of the same concerts I went to. So I guess back then it would have been Spiritualized, Verve. Those were big bands, Stereo Lab. I Teenage Fan Club. I
Mm-hmm.
remember seeing him there
Awesome.
and thinking like, man, I gotta Ride,
Yeah.
Lush, Pale Saints, Catherine Wheel. Like, so you're getting the picture now. So we
Yeah.
were just, I was very excited that those bands were coming to Dallas, which is
Yeah.
the nearest big city that I could see bands in.
Right.
And I was also kind of excited and curious. I was seeing all the same people at these shows. So, and that's how I met the crew. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I but with Lee, it was Low, Red House Painters. Those were big bands for us coming up. I guess a little bit later, Codeine and
Right.
that ilk. But
Yeah.
yeah, earlier it was the sadder stuff that I
Yeah.
shared with Lee. And then so when we kind of all got into a room, that's just what came out. Like, there wasn't any
Uh,
concept.
were
We
these songs that you had brought in, Andrew? Like, were these
um,
songs that you'd kind of had an
yeah,
idea of? And like,
yeah.
what would you bring in? What would be an example of,
Oh,
like,
that's a
would it
cool.
be
Yeah.
lyrics or like music, or like I have this line that I'd like to build something, or like what was your approach
I
when you first started off?
So it was never yeah, and vocals were never first back then. I mean, they aren't really now either, but I think about them earlier in the process now than I ever did back then or ever have before. But yeah, it was just, I've a couple of songs from that maybe I introduced with varying levels of success in previous bands that I was in Fort Worth. And yeah, just kind of ideas for songs. And it was, I guess early on, it was always recording the song was always part of the composition of the
Okay.
song. And that's the first thing I discovered with the American analog set is how much I wanted to marry those two
Hmm.
processes together because I like the way things sound. And
Right.
I like being I like being a DIY kind of home
Right.
recording enthusiast,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
done good. Uh, so yeah, so we bring in, earliest songs were like Mellow Fellow and Gone to Earth. Those were very, very early on songs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Magnificent 70s
Yep.
from the second record was
Right.
actually a
Right.
really, really early song as well. That predates the band.
Wow.
Dim Stars predates the analog set, but we kind of took it to a place it was very much a hybrid recording live thing. Yeah, so we'd play around a little bit. I'd record what we worked on together, and then I would kind of rebuild the songs, taking advantage of my friends or taking advantage of our discoveries in the rehearsal room. So it was kind of like make a demo, play it for a while, record it, play it for a while again,
Right.
and then record it for real down the road somewhere. But it was kind of a long process.
Yeah. And like those first three records, I mean, they have a similar aesthetic to them, cover wise to sound wise.
Mhm.
Um, what was the idea with those records to keep them nice and open like that and kind of sprawling and having them start and end kind of in the same space? Like I always
Yeah,
saw them kind of as secular. Like you would
I
have
do
this
too.
huge movement up, like a crescendo, and then it comes right back to where it starts. Were those
Yeah.
like where did that come? Was that through just playing together, saying, okay, here I have this idea, and then saying,
Um,
okay, let's like just add more time in here and let's play this one thing three, four, five, six, seven times over to create that
it
mood?
was yeah, it was the zen of repetition that kind of kept us in the room together. So yeah, that was, of course, maybe something that you do when you're learning to play a song is repeating a part. But we kind of really fell into that being a part of the song as a finished a piece. I Yeah, we like those parts that just they hit a little moment and
Yeah.
they just ride that moment. And as far as a cyclic album sequence, that was a lot of Mark Smith, our drummer.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he was definitely involved heavily in sequencing albums. He has a vibe for putting songs together, and yeah, I think he's good at it. So,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
it's
yeah, the first two records were kind of written and recorded all around the same time and
right.
released that in back to back years, and then
Right.
Golden Band came along, and I think the reason why that album was so successful, I mean, artistically, I really like that record, is because the first two records they were very much recording projects,
Mm.
and Golden Bands was a that band played live, and that band went on tour
Right.
and played some of those songs, and then came back and recorded them, and that I don't know.
Mm.
That was the first record that really had our
Right.
vibe on the record.
So you played songs from the Golden Band before you recorded it. So you were kind of like practicing and figuring them out on tour.
Yeah, it was only uh there were only
Some.
two of them, but we had
Right.
those ideas.
Right. Right.
But yeah, it's the song. It's all about us on the first side of the Golden Band. That was the first new song that we played when we went on our very first tour, and we played it every night, and we noticed it kind of improving.
Yeah.
We liked it when we started. I don't think we were like working it out so much, but we just having never had the experience of being on a tour and playing every night. I just wasn't expecting how much of our kind of energy would change playing it in front of people, and then
Yeah.
bringing that back to a home studio and trying to put some of that put some of that mojo on there.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it was like, oh yeah, be doing more of that. Like we like writing and recording and just hanging out with one another, but yeah, maybe we should play these songs out alive a little bit, see how they change, see if there are parts that need to be edited or extended.
okay,
And yeah, so that was It's All About Us.
cool, amazing song.
I love that one.
Um, so I mean, this kind of is good. Our transition here. So I've been, as I've been kind of preparing to talk with you, I've started to notice, and people are mentioning in reviews and whatnot, of the different eras of American analog set. So those first three, which just
Yeah.
have been coming out, just came out on a box set, but
They did.
then Know Your Heart,
Mhm.
and then the next albums to follow. The comments are that they became more about songwriting, or a little bit more, less slowcore and more like indie pop, in the sense that the songs had some assembly. Example, The Postman. I mean, one of
Mm.
my all-time, I think I've listened to that song a million times, and I'm not even exaggerating. But a song like that, compared to your earlier songs, there's a little bit of a transition. Could you speak to that a bit? Like, what was the mindset behind? And I know it was one of the departure of one of your bandmates that kind of
Yeah.
spurred that on as well. But what was your approach to writing the second era of your albums with American
Um,
Analog Set?
oh, sorry about that. I need to turn that off. I don't know why it changed so dramatically. Because to me, I only ever just got, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
better at writing the types of songs that I had been writing all along.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the energy of a couple new people in the band
Mm-hmm.
changed. Uh, it changed the vocabulary of the sounds a little bit. We were still, painting with a lot of the same colors, but there were a few new ones, and then some of the older ones were a bit different than they had been before. So I was definitely, responding to what the band was learning to do. We kind of had a new
Mm-hmm.
band, and we thought, like, is this going to be different enough to? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Is this going to be different enough that we need to change our name and just become a new thing, or is this going to be similar enough uh, that we can kind of get away with being the same,
Mm-hmm.
using the same moniker?
Right.
Um, yeah, I still don't know which would have generated more or less flack, like looking back,
Right. Right.
because we learned how to be uh, know by heart, Promise of Love, American Analog Set by going back and learning the back catalog, or at least enough to play, to play shows
Right.
without any new material. Like while we were working on the first few songs that we worked on for Know by Heart, we worked on Punk as Fuck and New Equation and Choir Vandals. We didn't play those until months and months and months later. Like we started with just playing the first three albums, or at least our favorite,
Right.
what
Right.
we found to be our favorite live presentations of the
Mm.
material from the earlier period. Um, so I don't know. I don't know why the songwriting did change. There are some choruses on
Mm-hmm.
on Know by
Yeah.
Heart, and I'm proud of those. There are some moments that wouldn't have been on the earlier records.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know really why it happened. It was just a new crew in the room,
Right.
and
Right. Do you
maybe
think?
maybe the demos didn't get, they were just perceived in a different way
Right.
than uh, they had been before by a different three or four people. And so our initial forays into um, composition they were different right out of the
Mm.
gate. Like there were different people with different comments. And,
Right.
um, it's a It's a good band leader that listens to all of it.
Absolutely,
Tries to.
absolutely. Well, I mean, and it shows in your lifespan, like your timeline of American Analog Set, that things change but stay the same. You know, and
I think so.
um, do you think that your songwriting has changed over the years? Like, I mean, your
Well,
first starting in 1995, right? Around that's your first kind of getting together of the band,
yeah,
and you
I
just
would.
launch a new record in 2023. Some,
Yeah.
handfuls of years later. How have you found that you've changed as a songwriter throughout these years, if at all?
Um, I want to look in the mirror and say like, yeah, I'm better. But um, yeah, I don't know if I still kind of do it all the same way.
Okay,
Like I
your
just
process has not changed from as it
it's
started to.
there have been new modules that have been installed in the process, but the same overall process is just, it's just a guy sitting on his couch with a guitar or sitting at a piano and liking the way a couple chords go together and then humming along. And then next thing you know, you're trying it in the room and some ideas go over and some ideas don't. Like it really is very typical, I think.
Right, right.
I would say over time, I've learned um, to, I don't think I ever had a huge ego. I hope I didn't, but
Mm,
I definitely have less now than I ever have before. And I think that that has improved. I get other ideas
right.
involved in the composition, in the process earlier, later,
Mm,
feedback and listening to what people I trust tell me about what
right.
we're doing together. And it's a lot more collaborative, and
Yeah.
I yeah, and that's helped more than anything.
Mm,
But yeah, I still just kind of sit down and with my 4 track, or I guess now with like a DAW or something,
right.
and I just
Right.
kind of put chords together and maybe put a little riff or a little piano line that I really hope makes it to the final product. And
Mm,
sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
right.
And the less I know about the finished product going into it, the happier I am with it. So just
That's
I
cool.
just try to make it a thing where I'm always just improving a little bit
Right.
as I'm
Right.
going.
Awesome. So 18 years from, you
From
know,
set free.
that's right.
Yeah.
Like, and I know other things were going on in life and other musical projects. What was that 18 like? How did you get to releasing that record last year, for Forever?
Yeah.
Um,
That's
like,
a
wow, what a
yeah.
journey. Just that record. Um,
Yes.
Now,
So
it wasn't 18 years in the making, but like,
no.
what was, tell us the story behind how that
Although
record
it's so
came to be.
good, it took about 17 and a half. No. I guess after the Wooden Birds ended in the summer of 2011, I just was really sad. Didn't make any music for years.
Hmm,
And yeah, but I in the time of the Wooden Birds, I also moved back to Austin and was kind of basing the band here in Austin.
mhm,
So I saw all of my analog set crew regularly
mhm,
for just hanging out, whatever.
mhm,
Uh, yeah, and just we decided would it be fun to get together and just play when I guess right around 2013 we or Sheila and I bought our home
mhm.
that we had been renting for about 5 years previous to that, and yeah, built out a little studio in the garage that I could keep all my gear in and um, just be that guy that hangs out in his garage playing with his recorder. Uh, with his piano. And
Right.
I don't know that we decided to get together just one afternoon, and I didn't even know if we were going to play older songs or newer
Hmm,
songs, or if we were just going to like hang out and just look at each other over our instruments and just joke about how old we are. I mean, I really had no idea. So,
right.
yeah, but everybody came over and we talked for a while. And I said, "Hey, well, do we want to warm up with something that we know how to play, or you guys want to jump in and just do something new?
Hmm.
And just everybody said, give us the new stuff.
Hmm.
So I did. I played them songs that a couple songs I had written for the last Wooden Birds record that I never got to make.
Okay.
A couple songs that I had been maybe tinkering around with in the meantime. Some that were even then a couple, years old at that point. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, but listening to the vocabulary and how it changed
Right.
in the room, I was able to kind of steer those songs in a way that took advantage of what I don't know the kind of sounds that we were making in that time period.
Okay.
But I say songs like we never worked on more than one
Hmm.
song at a time. We were a band that knew how to play one song, and we played it for 3 or 4 months, working on it.
Hmm.
We would record it and never play it again. Just,
Wow.
I mean, we would just let
Shelve
it
it.
fly away and have it, and it could exist on our iPod or on our phone, and just whenever we want to go back and listen to what we've recorded before. I mean, that's never been easier than it is now. So,
Yeah.
but we would never play it again. We would just move on to the next song and
Wow.
just keep on going. And yeah, I guess around 2019, that summer, Mark and his wife moved to Berlin, and we thought, oh, this is a good time to kind of close this chapter. And we've been, doing this for about 4 years, 5 years,
Hmm.
I guess. Yeah, maybe 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
And we said, hey, let's just take these songs that we've been working on, like 2 or 3 songs a year, and pick our favorites and see if they tell a story that is coherent enough for an album. And that was for forever. So it was an album that was never started. It was only ever finished.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
And we still
And
have never played any of those songs ever again. But I would like to at some
right.
point, because we still get together and play. We just do the same thing. Like we just keep on writing 1 or 2 songs at a time.
Right.
Yeah, if you've ever, do you have a musical history? Like,
Hmm.
have you a band history? So,
Yeah.
like being in a band, you've got like a song that has a name, and then you've
Hmm.
got like the new one.
Right.
And you kind of go back.
Untitled or
Yeah, you
yeah.
just like, you want to play the new one? Oh no, let's play Camp Don't Count. Okay, and those were the 2 songs we had.
Hmm.
That was it.
Cool. That's
So
really really
yeah, that's
interesting.
kind of like how we do things now.
How long did it take to come to so you're saying about 5 years of meeting on Mondays in your garage,
Yeah,
you know,
maybe
all
four and
these
a half.
songs were
Yeah,
tracked and then kind of put on a shelf, and
yeah.
then another one would come in. So you had a repertoire of all these songs. And how did the vision of us bringing them all together and releasing them, was that the closing of the chapter that
Um,
you were alluding to?
well, yeah. I guess Lee Lee plays bass in the analog set, and I don't know. Lee and I are definitely more so because of him and not because of me, but we both have kind of a DIY aesthetic a little bit.
Hmm.
Like we
Hmm.
like to kind of be involved with the stuff that we're making. Like we
Right.
never been into a studio, never done a lot of stuff that normo bands should do. But
Hmm.
we kind of always wanted to release a record, like intentionally, just like, hey, like let's make the vinyl and make the jackets, and
Right.
we'll sell them at stores in Austin. Like we'll consign them here and just have it be a local thing.
Hmm.
And we were in love with the idea. And again, it's never been easier to do that than it is right now.
That's
So
it. Right.
yeah, we said in 2019, like, hey, let's just see if we can do it all ourselves. And we had some friends that helped us. We had a lot of questions. Josh and actually everybody at Barsuk Records, because we kind of worked with them over the
Hmm.
years.
Hmm.
They were very good. They answered, it's like, no, you should not. No, people don't do that. Don't. You do this, and then you do this, and then
Right.
you sign this, and then it's on your calendar, and then you do this, and it's like, oh, no. Yeah. So they kept it from taking longer than 4 years, but it took 4 years because it takes a while for vinyl to get pressed. I mean,
Right.
And
Yeah.
there was a pandemic in there somewhere as well, and
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
true.
yeah, it took a while to kind of bring to market. But I'm so happy with For Forever, and
Hmm.
um, I just yeah, I wish I could just like walk to everyone's home that ever wants to hear it and just give it to them in person and say, uh, I worked hella hard on this. I really hope you like it because I made it for you. I mean, I made it for
Right.
me and my
Right.
friends, but
Right.
that's you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Like, I wish I could
Yeah.
just like say, like, hey, listen to this one, and then listen to that song, and then like when you get to the end, you can flip it right back over, and it starts on the uh,
No,
but
it really is like listening to it for the first time was such a treat, and all these old memories of listening to you with friends or seeing a show of yours or all of this flood came back.
same,
And it's just so magical. It was just
same,
really like I think I commented it was like meeting an old friend again, that
yeah.
you the
For
long lost.
me, just as much, if not more. Like yeah. I mean, it was I was shocked how
Mm,
it was like releasing our first album all over again. Like I got that
yeah.
same feeling I got when I held the finished copy in my hand and I opened up the gatefold for the first time and I saw the inside. Um, it was, yeah, it felt like our very, very first record. I felt like I
Amazing.
was, I don't know, 25 or however old I was whenever Fireworks came out,
Yeah.
and going to a record shop and seeing it for the first time in the bin or on an end cap, like, hey, this local band, has this new record out. And yeah, the first time I went to End of an Ear and saw it up there,
Yeah.
it's a record shop in Austin.
Yep.
I
Yep.
thought, oh man, this is real. Like we did this. Like how
That's cool.
unlikely a thing
Yeah.
for this like club of weirdos that happen to make music to get to make a record. So
Yeah.
that was
And the
really
history too, right? I mean, the catalog that you guys have created is so impressive.
it's a wicked back catalog at this
It
point.
is,
It's
which brings me kind of to our close here is the new
okay.
box set that just came out February 8th last
Yeah, just
week.
last week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
how cool
it's
is
the
that?
first three records,
It
and
is.
then it's a series of demos and B-sides, etc. Like, how do you
Absolutely, yeah.
describe this? What's in this box set?
Well, I mean, it's a the first three records are uh the meat of the box set. I mean, there
Right.
is a double vinyl um odds and sods kind of
Right.
album that comes along with it that is about half previously released. We did have a singles collection that came out. So I think the most fun thing on the uh, the double bonus album, which we called Nine Legend Road,
Yep.
um, is for me, it's the stuff that we wrote that first summer we were together and never released. So
Hmm.
songs like You Don't Want Me to Arrive and What Are We Gonna Tell Guy? And my favorite, Where Did You Come From? Which
Right.
is, I mean, does it have a guitar solo in it? Kind of. I mean, it's the closest thing we ever did to one. It's just like
Yeah.
kind of noise, but
Yeah.
um, looking back, it just seemed like, yep, we do this type of song and this type of song, and it's all part of what we are. And some of those sounds ended up, maybe coming in later on later albums, but they seem
Hmm.
really now when I listen back, our earlier stuff sounds like The Fun of Watching Fireworks
Right.
and From Our Living Room to Yours.
Yeah.
And those other songs sound like complete oddballs, but really they just weren't chosen for the album because they were
Right.
too long or too short or for whatever reason.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I love those older
Yeah.
ones. The box set is and of course like all of our lots of scrapbook photos and just notes, original like lyrics written out, ripped out of a page and or an envelope, and like we put all that in there, and it's
That's
a
cool.
very tender presentation of a band uh, that trucks in some pretty nostalgic territory for sure.
Absolutely. Well said. So, Andrew, just to kind of wrap things up again, thanks so much for this. This has
Oh my
been
God, yeah,
so cool to hear these stories and kind of a little bit of the background behind these iconic
it's
songs that,
my
you know.
pleasure.
Um, what's 2024 holding for American Analog Set, or for you, with your art and your music? What's
Another cool
happening here?
question. We're still getting together and playing. I feel like the next project that you will, I hope, someday hear, is more or less completed, and we're starting to create some vocabulary for the next one. So, yeah, over the course of learning how to manufacture an album, we made another one, and we'll be excited to share that someday, I hope.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, so 2024 is just a lot more writing, and I don't know. I hope maybe someday playing a show here in Austin
Mhm.
might be really nice,
Right,
just for even if it's for our friends and family,
right.
um,
Well,
and
that's a
however
cool idea.
however big
Yeah,
that family is, I don't know.
yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, yeah,
Get
we're
out of the
trying to
basement
hold
and
stuff
come
up too.
onto the stage here a little bit. That would be, if you ever want to live stream to a band practice, that would be something
Oh,
amazing as
that
well.
would be kind of fun.
Just put a stationary camera right in the middle of
I
the
never
room,
thought
and
about that. That's a good idea. You know what? I'll set one up on Monday because
amazing.
um,
Yeah, because I noticed too on your site you have the bootleg club, which
yeah,
so cool. Like going back and listening to those songs.
I wish
Um,
I would have really explained what that was. I don't know if there's text on there, but earlier, like when people used to say, "Hey, can I record your show on cassette recorder or portable DAT or whatever?" I would say
yeah,
like, "Yeah, sure, have a blast." But if you'll send us a copy, here's my address. Send me a
cool.
copy, and I'll send you back an ever-growing mixtape of other recordings, and so you can have like and your some of your contributions will be on there as well. So it really was kind of like an impromptu club, kind of just kind of came out of it.
Yeah,
And so I that was people I guess I don't keep in touch with anymore, but but I did at one point make a mixtape for, and that's what
yeah,
that bootleg club was.
yeah. I love those.
But yeah, all
Some really
volumes one,
great,
two,
great
and three are
records.
all on there.
It's so cool. Um, cool. Well, again, thank you. This has been a real treat, and all the best
Oh,
in
thank you.
2024. I know the beginning happened a long time ago, but I still have a feeling we're not at the end yet. So
I do
I,
too. We're
I
having too much
very
fun.
much, yeah, and I can, I feel it in you. I feel like you have this
Oh, thank you.
rebirth almost of the passion of playing with your guys again, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's a good team. It's a good squad.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, and we'll be talking.
Oh, absolutely.